All right, we are just about ready to start this webinar. My name is Troels Fjorder Nielsen. I'm the EU Marketing Manager of Tradeshift, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this webinar today. So I just wanted to quickly, before we jump over to Alasdair, who will be doing the presentation, I just wanted to go through the housekeeping. So very simply, the slides will be made available after the webinar, so no reason to ask for that. We'll make sure you all get access to those. And if you want to receive a copy of the reports that we go through during the webinar, or want a link to the recording that will be available afterwards, you can all email hello@tradeshift.com. That's hello@tradeshift.com, and we'll make sure that that you get that. And at the end of the presentation, there will be a Q&A session. So we encourage you all to use the questions feature in the GoToWebinar control panel. So type in your questions during the presentation or in the Q&A session, and we'll be trying to answer as many as possible of those. So now I'll hand it over to my colleague Alasdair McKenzie, who is the EMEA Sales Director of Tradeshift. Alasdair, here you go.
Jolly good. Good morning, everyone. Delighted you could join us today. Thank you, Troels, for the introduction. And I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. I guess the topic we're going to cover today is a question that's often posed in our business life. How can we maximize value and minimize the costs associated with it? And today we're going to be concentrating on accounts payable and the transformational processes within accounts payable that a number of organizations have been going through. However, to look at the transformational process within AP, I think it's only fair and right that we get some factual information regarding currently what enterprise organizations are doing within the space and their thoughts on the space. And as an organization, we're using data provided by PayStream Advisors and the Aberdeen Group, both globally recognized as leaders in the field. And the PayStream Advisors data has recently been compiled early this year. We'll then have a quick look at Tradeshift, look at our strategy and vision, together with a very high-level overview of our solution, with an important part following that, the questions and answers. So without further ado, can we just have a quick look at the findings of the PayStream Advisors report? And I think AP is part of the P2P process. Invariably, it's seen as a cost center, and I think a number of organizations are starting to look at how AP can be efficiently managed and possibly even be a revenue generating center. So if we look at a couple of the key points in this slide, the AP department within any organization has invariably been tasked to pay invoices on time. I think we all appreciate the fact that an invoice paid on time it creates a relationship with your supplier that's conducive to your business. I think a number of invoices have to go through a number of processes to be paid on time, and we will look to address those processes later on in this particular presentation. I think financial supply chain management is key, and it in itself is becoming a driver for AP automation. So if we actually narrow down and look at the responses from the enterprise organizations that were researched and by PayStream, the number one driver for AP transformation happened to be removing paper from the AP department. Invoicing in general is a very, very paper-hungry process. And from that perspective, paper is not easy to control in an enterprise. Paper is not easy to store in an enterprise, and paper just isn't conducive to being able to push data around the enterprise. Another goal of the AP team was to speed up invoice approval cycle times. And again, that goes back to paper. If it's on paper, how can it be approved quickly? How can we get it from, let's say, Poland through to the UK? How can we actually retrieve invoices? Invariably, you know, paper gets lost. Invoices are lost. They're mislaid. And how can we ensure that the data has the ability to be audited? When we look at those top four, we assume they, you know, quite rightly, they're all process related. They're part of the process of the AP unit. And when we look at the bottom five, they're more finance related. Better cash management, improved visibility into spend, obtaining incremental discounts. And I think the incremental discounts goes back to what I said earlier about AP possibly becoming revenue generating. Assuming you increase efficiency within your AP team, then you could be entitled to discounts on the invoice for early payment or early settlement. Currently, the Aberdeen Group, from their research, anywhere from 16 to 18 days to process a single invoice. I found that information quite startling. And the costs associated with ranged from $5 through to $25 per invoice. A staggering amount. And I think we all know that technology is far cheaper than human intervention. So just looking at this slide, if we can take paper from the, remove paper from the process, to extract the data on that paper or to have the data extracted on our behalf, then we're looking at technology helping us generate or gain or gather the approvals required to pay an invoice on time. AP transformation and the use of technology. Manual processing of invoices is estimated to be about 1,000 invoices a month. By utilizing technology, it could get to as high as 8,000 invoices a month. That's a significant gain through technology assisting a process. I think on the right-hand side, it sums it up very nicely. Significant reduction in paper and manual data entry. But that doesn't say everything, really. Manual data entry invariably causes errors, or people need to validate their work or have it revalidated. So why are we not receiving all of our invoices electronically? When PayStream asked organizations in Q1 of this year, this is what the answers were. Costs for suppliers. If you charge someone to do something that's conducive to your business, why would they join? Why would someone pay to submit an invoice that currently they're submitting for free? 25% suggested that that was a true barrier to their entry. Integration with suppliers, 56%, the highest barrier. Integration with suppliers and offering to supply easy-to-use tools could be combined. And it could be suggested that by having multi-channels to submit invoices, and for that to be easily facilitated by the supplier, induces them, or is conducive for them to submit electronically to you, the enterprise organization. Communicating benefits with suppliers. whilst organisations request electronic invoicing, what's the benefit to your supplier base? What's the benefit to your supply chain? Why should someone do it? What are they going to gain from it? I think we all know in life, we do things because there's something in it for us. And it's the same in the business environment. So again, the top four being supplier related. One's cost associated, one's the ease of submitting invoices electronically, and the second and third one being, why should I do this? What's in it for me? And then organisationally related, tax compliance. Various regions in the world and ensuring you've got tax compliance. Identifying supplier contacts. Some people do not actually have contacts within their supply chain to actually invite them to send an electronic invoice. Something that we recognise right now. This is the e-invoicing landscape as we know it. There are lots of network operators that actually invariably don't talk to each other. Suppliers are charged on a transactional fee structure. So therefore, for every invoice they've submitted, we're asking them to pay us or pay an organisation to transmit that invoice through to you, the enterprise. And so many invoice messages, the formats differ depending on the industry verticals, depending on the country, depending on the systems. How can we expect one operator to be interoperable with other operators to ensure that it's easy for the suppliers to submit? And then once you get your data, it goes straight to the ERP solution. And from there, you look to do your three-way matching, making sure the PO, the goods have been received, and the invoice match, and then it can go to AP. We need to push information around an organisation when non-PO invoices are coming in. So who's actually approved this invoice? There is a huge process post receipt of an invoice. Vendor master data, one of the reasons why there's been perceived poor electronic invoicing adoption was we don't actually know who to contact at our suppliers. But this is the reality. This is what we see today out in the marketplace. We do see a number of web EDI and integrated solutions submitting invoices. And we do see them being submitted through to the ERP solution. And we do see people matching, people using workflow from the ERP solution and making sure that the invoice is then ready for paying. But we also see a huge amount of this. A huge amount of emails being sent in, paper being forwarded, internal resources having to be used on manual data entry or scanning. And not only from the scanning, but the OCR. And therefore, it goes into the ERP solution as data, and it's perceived to be electronic invoicing. And once it's in the back office, it still needs to be processed and pushed around the organisation to make sure it's available to pay. And I'm hoping you're there thinking, yeah, that's about right. That is how we perceive electronic invoicing today. So if we take a look at Tradeshift. Tradeshift is a cloud-based business platform that ensures all your transactions are received electronically, and due to the platform nature, we have business applications that help you with the functionality, the business functionality that you're looking to achieve, built within the platform. Whether it be electronic invoicing, whether it be payments, workflow, supply chain finance, all those applications are built on the platform. Currently, we have suppliers in 196 countries. We process 15 million invoices. I say we process. 15 million invoices are transacted across the network per year. 200 billion is the value of those invoices, and so again, let me just explore the notion that we enable all your supply chain to connect with the Tradeshift Business Cloud, and that in turn generates a business platform or a platform on which business applications can be built that help with the process that invariably everyone's doing post the in-house accounting solution. So if we look at some of the applications that are being or have been built right now, electronic invoicing is one. So the supplier will submit data as an electronic invoice, but that electronic invoice will still require some processing to be done before it reaches your back office. Workflow and matching are probably the easiest example of this. But some organizations will submit a purchase order, and some organizations are aiming for 100% PO, and they'll submit a purchase order through to the supplier, and that supplier in turn will submit an invoice. And that can all be done across the Tradeshift Business Cloud. I think another area, and we go back to my reference about the AP unit becoming a revenue generating part of the organization rather than just a cost center. We can look at supply chain finance, which again, assuming you've got the visibility of the supplier submitting an invoice, you, the enterprise customer, receiving the invoice and approving the invoice, you may have you may offer the supplier an early settlement, or the supplier may request an early settlement. And that transaction can be facilitated through the supply chain finance application sitting on our business platform. Or you may have other applications that you wish to be supplier facing. You may have other requirements from your supply chain, or other questions you want to ask them, or other compliance issues that need to be addressed. And you can build, or a third party could build, or Tradeshift could build a business application that, once you have the connectivity of your supply chain, can seamlessly forward that data to you. We talked previously about the benefit to the supplier. Unless there's something in it for the suppliers, why would they submit electronically? I think there are some of your answers. I think some of the real important ones here, and if you think about how many phone calls come into the AP team, simply asking for, have you received my invoice? When's it going to be approved? When am I going to get paid? The fact that your suppliers can see when you have approved, when you have received, when you are paying the invoice, gives them peace of mind that there is a process and the process is being followed, but it gives them the information that invariably they're chasing you for. So not only does it save them time, it saves the accounts payable team time, because they don't have to pick up the phone and answer the questions. It enables because of the platform enables communication with you, the enterprise customer or buyers, so the suppliers can, maybe you sent them a purchase order that the supplier doesn't quite understand. Maybe they're just requesting additional information, but the platform will give you the ability to message between one another. And I think suffice to say, even to the smaller supplier, the SME and the SOHO supplier, the lower end of mid-market, those that are very used to using a tablet, an iPhone, to communicate and run a number of business applications on. Tradeshift has been optimized for use within that environment. And Tradeshift being free, ensures that that absolute barrier that most suppliers gave to PayStream, i.e. it costs us money to submit, therefore we won't do it, ensures our uptake is higher than the industry standard. So let's look at some of our customers and put some facts on what we're doing. Kuehne + Nagel, I think we've probably all seen their trucks going up and down our motorways in our country. 165,000 suppliers in 100 countries. As Jürgen's goal is clearly stated there, to get to as close to 100% electronic invoicing as possible. So let's have a look at some of the results. Almost 30% of their supply chain after 4 weeks have connected to Kuehne + Nagel across the Tradeshift Business Cloud. For the countries that we rolled this out of, it was an unheralded success. And obviously, you know, this is simply after 4 weeks. And to this day, it's one of the most successful onboarding campaigns that's ever been run in the industry. But it doesn't stop there. We have other examples. The British National Health Service chose Tradeshift. And I think we all know that the Chinese army is #1 for the size of their supply chain, but the British National Health Service is #5 as the world's largest supply chain. Some of their onboarding results, and this is after 3 months. So almost 60% of their supply chain had accepted the network connection with the NHS. 35% were in the process of integrating. So they had said yes, but their internal resources were integrating with our business cloud. And 24% were already sending. Phenomenal success. So there may be some questions out there. You know, we're talking about still a chunk of invoices that, whilst we haven't got 100% of suppliers submitting electronically within the examples given, what we do with everything else, because initially there will still be a lot of paper, there will still be a lot of scanning. But as we can see this journey here, it does decrease. But Tradeshift have an opportunity to start the journey through to 100% electronic invoicing. And that solution is called CloudScan. And CloudScan is the ability for either a supplier to send an image to the Tradeshift Business Cloud, and we will do the OCR, or for your internal team to send the image, a scanned image, to the Tradeshift Business Cloud, and we will still perform the OCR. So we extract the data from everything. So if your suppliers are not submitting electronically and you're receiving on paper or they're submitting by PDF, then we still extract the data. And once you have the data, our business applications, and we've talked about workflow, we've talked about matching applications, we've talked about custom applications. Once the data is present within the Tradeshift Business Cloud, it can be routed, it can be extracted and validated to ensure clean data is received within your ERP solution. So today I've really talked about the industry, thoughts of organisations within specific AP units, and from data that's been collated by PayStream and data that's been collated by Aberdeen Group. And I hope I've given you a very, very brief insight into Tradeshift. I think it's very important that Tradeshift is seen as an organization that does connect your entire supply chain. It offers the opportunity for all invoices to be delivered electronically. And I think it offers the opportunity outside of your ERP environment for the whole process in relation to the invoices to be automated. And as and when you have a specific need, a specific requirement or request of your supply chain, then you can build a business application to help with that process. Some of the organizations that are currently on the Tradeshift network now, as Truls said initially, if you would like the data sheets and the documentation from PayStream or the Aberdeen group, then please either email me, amc@tradeshift.com, or hello@tradeshift.com, and we'll happily forward that to you. Just a little bit about what we're doing moving forward. We're doing a specific webinar, 26th of June, regarding compliance in Latin America. I'm sure some of you are aware that there are very, very strict compliance regulations within that region. And with our partnership with Invoiceware, we now have a solution for all your suppliers in that region. Very, very exciting opportunity for us, and a number of organizations are already using Tradeshift and Invoiceware. So if you'd like to register, please do. And now I guess it's over to some questions and answers.
Yep, thank you, Alasdair. I'll just jump in. This is Truls, even though I think it says my colleague's name, Tatiana, speaking. We actually have a question for you, Alasdair. And everyone listening in, please enter your questions in the question section in the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll have Alasdair answer it. So, Alasdair, basically, how is Tradeshift different from competitors? Can you please elaborate on that?
I think that's a great question. I think there's several things, and we've talked about Tradeshift being free for the suppliers. I think that does remove a massive barrier. But notwithstanding that, our technology has been developed, or we built the platform within the last 3 years. Now, when we say that we built the platform has been built on or utilizing new technology, but not only that, it's been built based on our founder's success within the Danish government. So I would say, Tradeshift Solution 1 is a project called NemHandle, which was run for the Danish government to ensure suppliers to the Danish government could submit electronically. It's still perceived and believed around the world to be the most successful electronic invoicing platform. Then one of our founders, Mikkel Hippie Brun, he was asked by PEPOL, which was set up by the European Commission, to act as the CTO, with PEPOL standing for Pan-European Procurement Online. And I think those two projects and the combined intelligence within those two projects, plus the use of the next generation of technology, have given us an opportunity to maximize not only the learnings, but look into the future regarding additional processes that can be run on the platform. I hope that answers some of the question. I probably could have gone on that question for 30, 40 minutes.
All right, we have another question. Actually, it's two questions that we'll combine here. So how is Tradeshift able to provide free invoicing solution for suppliers? And then there's an add-on to that. So how is CloudScan also free of charge to sellers and buyers? So maybe if you start with how can you provide free invoicing for suppliers?
Okay, I think it's how we look to monetize. You're quite correct. It is a dramatic change from the norm, whereby most electronic invoicing providers are looking to generate 70% of their revenue from the supplier base. because it's such a big barrier, and Tradeshift's goal is to connect 100% of your supply chain, it needs to be removed. So one example of monetization could be the business applications that are built on the platform. Those business applications, if they're built by a third party and sold to the either the customer or the supplier, and they're obviously only going to be sold if the customer or the supplier feels there's some value there, we can or we would get a percentage of the fee generated from that. We also look at supply chain finance or dynamic discounting as a revenue stream for us, and probably that is a main revenue stream as well. So dynamic discounting, whereby the enterprise organization is using their funds to finance the payment or an early payment of an invoice. For instance, a €10,000 invoice you may pay €9,900 10 days early, and therefore there is some a saving of €100 on that invoice to the enterprise organization, and that's all facilitated in the Tradeshift Business Cloud. We would receive a percentage of that saving. So we're looking to monetize outside of the transaction, so outside of the electronic transaction, due to our vision to connect every single company globally. The second question regarding CloudScan, yes, it is free from a supplier perspective for a supplier to submit an image to Tradeshift and to use for the use of the CloudScan solution. From an enterprise perspective, a customer perspective, should you wish to use CloudScan internally so what we call CloudScan Enterprise, then there is a license fee that you will pay per user. Notwithstanding that, we still need to be competitive with our competition out there. So we will ensure that there is a business case that supports the fee structure that we will put forward. So CloudScan is free for the suppliers to submit their images to. From a enterprise customers or from the receivers, the recipient's perspective, there is a charge per AP person using CloudScan. Okay,
we have a couple of other questions coming in. So this is probably a bit more of a technical nature, but let's see if this is the question that you're the right person to answer. When you conduct matching to PO, would POs be interfaced from current ERP?
Yeah, and that's a wonderful question. Yes, they would. So I believe in this case you'll be raising the in-house PO, you'll be submitting that across the Tradeshift Business Cloud, and that'll be received by your supplier, who in turn will either flip it or generate an invoice on the back of that. Therefore, and this is where the beauty of our three-way matching and our workflow process all comes together. So absolutely, we will use the data from the PO to match the invoice and the goods received.
Okay, we have another question. Can you talk about interoperability and how you send invoices to a supplier who is already using another e-invoicer?
I'm smiling as I hear that question, because it depends on who that other supplier or buyer is using. So the easiest way to answer this is from a Peppol perspective. So as I said, Mikkel Hippie-Brun was asked to be the CTO of Peppol, and one of the agreements of Peppol networks is that they are open. And the easiest way to look at this is it's a bit like the data roaming that happens within the mobile phone industry. So should you go abroad, then you still take with you your mobile phone with your contract, and you will seamlessly be transferred to the service provider of that country. You, the customer, do not notice a change in service. And PEPOL, because a PEPOL compliant network is able to interoperate with any other PEPOL compliant network, should that supplier or those customers been using PEPOL compliant networks, then absolute interoperability occurs, and it will be transferred without you, the customer or the supplier, knowing. I hope that goes some way to answering it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be happy to follow up on additional questions after this. I still have a couple of questions, and then we'll be rounding off. So this question is: we currently have a process where scanned invoices are processed through a Kofax solution, and then gets validated by users at a workstation. How does your data capture solution differ from this, please?
One, it's done in the cloud. So if for instance, this is a lovely example. So Kofax, you could send the scanned image to the Tradeshift Business Cloud, and then we would send you an image together with the ability to, or a screen with the data that we've extracted, together with an image of the initial invoice that was scanned, and you could follow that process. But one thing that's happening is immediately you're having electronic data within the network. But from there, we can look at how we could onboard that supplier so that we educate them and we give them an opportunity to submit electronically. So keep your scanning, lose the OCR, have the OCR done in the cloud, and then the electronic data can be manipulated throughout the organization and cleaned prior to it being submitted to your ERP solution.
Okay, and we have a question here. Is Tradeshift developing more connectors for billing systems, as some suppliers complain that they are charged by their third-party software providers to write interfaces and send their invoices to us?
It is a natural progression, and it's something that's on our product roadmap for an outbound billing solution. Whilst at the moment it is free for everyone to, if you look at an enterprise grade outbound billing solution, then yes, it's on our roadmap. Yes, you can send free of charge PDFs and to anyone else connected on the network through Tradeshift right now.
All right, Alasdair, I think unless you have anything else that you want to include, then I think we'll just round off for today.
All I can say is thank you very much to everyone for your time. It's always very awkward not seeing and talking to you personally. So if any of you would like any Tradeshift representative to have a one-on-one with you, please feel free to reach out to either hello@tradeshift.com or amc@tradeshift.com. We'd be delighted to follow up and ensure that we give you as much information as possible. So many thanks for your time so far.
Thank you.